What if I told you that one of the simplest tenses in English is also one of the most powerful? Well, today we are going to master the simple present, and I promise you're going to see it in a whole new light. By the end of this, you'll be using it with total confidence. Okay, let's jump right in. All right, first up, a quick warm-up. Take a look at these sentences on the screen. What's the common thread here? What connects these three totally different ideas? Go ahead and pause if you want to think about it for a sec. What links a fact of science, a daily habit, and a schedule? If you guessed they all use the exact same verb tense, you are spot on. Every single one of them uses the simple present. This is our go-to tool for talking about facts, routines, and schedules. Basically, anything that happens in a consistent, predictable way. So what exactly is the simple present? I like to think of it as the stability tense. It's not about what's happening this very second, but about what happens in general, over and over, or what's just always true. It's really the foundation for how we describe our world and our lives. Okay, so we know what it is and why we use it. Now for the fun part. Let's see how to actually build it piece by piece. We're going to start with the most basic structure there is, the simple positive sentence. And here is the best news. The basic formula could not be easier. It's just the subject, the person or thing doing the action, followed by the verb in its simplest form. That's the version you'd find in the dictionary, with no extra bits like s, ed, or ing. Seriously, that's it. For example, I play football. You study English. We live in London. See how clean that is? It's just so direct and clear, and it follows that subject plus verb pattern perfectly. No messing around. Okay, listen up, because this is a big one. Everything we've said so far is true, but there's this one crucial exception that you have got to know. This is where most people trip up, but we're going to nail it down so you never have to guess again. And this slide lays it out perfectly. For I, you, we, and they, we just use the simple base verb. But for the third person singular, that's he, she, or it, we add an S. So I play, but he plays. We live, but she lives. The takeaway here, if you're talking about just one other person or thing, that verb gets an S. Simple as that. Awesome. You've totally nailed the positive sentence. Now that you've got that down, let's switch gears and see how we can use this to make negative sentences and ask questions. Now, to make a sentence negative, we can't just throw in the word not. English needs a little assistance here from what I like to call helper verbs. For the simple present, our helpers are do and does. We just mix them with not, and we get our powerhouse negative duo, don't and doesn't. Building a negative sentence is just a simple three-step process. First, pick your subject. Let's go with she. Second, since it's she, we use the helper that ends in S, doesn't. And third, and this is super important, we add the base form of the verb. She doesn't drive. Not drives. Why? Because the helper does already took care of that S for us. And this example right here, it sums it all up. I gets the simple helper, don't. He gets the S helper, doesn't. And check it out. Both sentences use the simple base verb right after, like and play. It's a really consistent system once you see it. All right, so we can say what's true and what isn't true. The next logical step is, well, how do we ask stuff? How do we form a question to get the information we need? Asking questions is actually way easier than you might think. It really just comes down to two simple formulas. Our helper verbs, do and does, just pop right to the front. For a simple yes or no question, it's, do you like chocolate? And for a more detailed question, you just stick a question word like where or what at the very beginning. Where does she live? See, the main structure doesn't change. Okay, so you've got all the basic tools now for making positive and negative statements and asking questions. In this next part, we're just going to sharpen those skills and make sure they're completely solid. So, just as a quick refresher, let's lock in why we use this tense. Remember, it's for our daily habits, like I brush my teeth, for scientific facts, like water freezes at 0 degrees, for general truths about the world, and of course for those fixed schedules, like a train timetable. These are its main jobs. Now, if you want to make your sentences even better and more precise, you can add what we call adverbs of frequency. These words are like the perfect sidekick for the simple present because they tell us how often something happens, which adds a whole new layer of detail. And there's a really simple rule for where these go. The adverb usually goes right before the main verb. For instance, I often go to the gym. The big exception is the verb to be. If you're using is, am, or are, the adverb comes after it. He is always late. Okay, let's zoom in on the two biggest traps people fall into so you can just avoid them. First, forgetting that third person S. It's an easy one to forget, I know, but for he, she, and it, it's a must. Second, getting don't and doesn't mixed up. Just remember, if the subject is he, she, or it, the helper verb needs that S. So it's never he don't, it's always he doesn't. All right, enough theory. Practice is where the magic really happens, right? It's where you build confidence. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. For the best result, I really want you to try answering them out loud. You ready? Let's start with an easy one. Do you speak English? Your answer is probably going to be a nice, simple, yes, I do, or no, I don't. See? Simple, clear, and perfectly correct. Okay, now let's try a what question. Think about your best friend for a second. Where does he or she live? Seriously, take a sec. Form that sentence in your head, or even better, say it out loud. So, how'd you do? You probably said something like, he lives in or she lives in. And did you remember to put that all-important S on the verb lives because your subject was he or she? If you did, that's awesome. Wow, we've covered a ton of ground, from the basic formula all the way to those common mistakes. So for our last bit here, the ball is in your court. Think of a habit, a fact, or a routine from your own life. What's one new sentence you can make right now using this simple present? Keep practicing with it and you will absolutely master this.